Good day, everyone. My name is Gracia Labrawa, and I was assigned to discuss social beliefs and judgments. How do we judge our social worlds consciously and unconsciously? This helps us understand how judgments are influenced by both unconscious and uh, conscious system. There are things that occur in perceiving the world to help us how we perceive reality. Things like priming. Priming is activating particular associations in memory. When an individual is exposed to a certain stimulus, it influences his or her response to a subsequent stimulus without any awareness of the connection. These stimulus are often related to words, images, or sounds that we experience in everyday lives. Let's take an example. Watching a scary movie alone can activate emotions that, without our realizing, it causes us to interpret furnace noises as a danger. Experience version of this. I try to cope my fear of watching horror movies. I keep watching horror movies even though I'm not that brave, but to overcome my phobia, every time I'm alone in our house and I heard suddenly a creepy sounds, it's like a crying baby or so, something like that. I got panicked and thought it was something scary or a ghost maybe. And also as curiosity rise, I inspected it, but further inspection is just a stray puppy that's crying. In my case, it is strongly evidence that I got primed. It is closely associated with the movies I watch, so I got primed. Um, Another thing that will help us how we perceive the reality is through embodied cognition. It is the mutual influence of bodily sensations on cognitive preferences and social judgments. It is more like thinking through bodily activities. Um, in 2013 experiments, people asked to carry a basket versus pushing a cart while shopping were three times more likely to impulse buy unhealthy items like candy because the researchers theorized the arm flexes of holding a basket mimics the motion we make when grabbing a desired object. Another is Another example of embodied cognition of how temperature affect the way we give judgments. In 2012, a study experiments the subject holding hot coffee and when encounter a stranger while chatting about job loss, and after that, the subject were asked if they are willing to give a stranger another chance for job, and their answer is yes. So they rated a stranger as warm and friendly, while the other subjects that are given an iced tea in the same process, the subject rated a stranger as unfriendly. This is more like metaphors, right? Metaphors influence decisions. These experiments shows that cognition uses the entire nervous system, not just the brain. It uses the entire body to gather information on which to base our decisions. Here are some examples of embodied cognition. Another thing of judging our social world is the no intuition or the ability to sense or to know things immediately without being aware. Um, In different environment, it is very important to think what social cognition that we use to form impressions of people around us and decide to engage it or not engage. The first to think about is the automatic process or automatic thinking, or more like intuition thinking. Most of what we do is on an automatic subconscious level because this implicit thinking doesn't require cognitive resource. It's sort of autopilot, it's quick, effortless, involuntary. We don't really have to think about the situations. It is our autopilot thinking to judge such a situation or threat on the environment. Example, you see a bunch of signs that you're in danger. Like you see a smoke, there's heat, people run against your way. your conclusion is that there must be a fire. And when you are in a automatic thinking, things like you're in danger come very quickly, because that means you can then act very quickly and it can save your life. Automatic thinking is important in situations because it is helpful to adapt to your environment and to stay alive. Priming is a good example of automatic thinking, and another is are the schemas, how we view the world, emotional reactions, and expertise. You get skills in instruments and sports. If we engage of what we called controlled process or controlled thinking, or the system two, effortful and deliberate, thinking about self in terms of environment, carefully selecting the right course of action, deciding what we want to do or where we're gonna go, or if we engage this person, if he or she is friendly, then I might talk to them. It takes time for us to think before doing. That is more controlled thinking. We are thinking our environment, we put effort into it, we think about pros and cons, we think about the next steps. These two kind of thinking process don't necessarily occur separately. We engage in automatic controlled thinking together all the time, but the idea is we don't have to engage in controlled thinking for every single tiny thing. And much of our social information processing is automatic. Our thinking is partly automatic and partly controlled. Um, Intuitions have limitations. We have seen how automatic intuitive thinking can make us smart by trusting our gut feelings, according to Giger Renzer 2007, are so often right and can serve us better than reflection and reasons. But some other psychologists have doubts about the brilliance of intuitions. They reported a general consensus that the unconscious may not be as smart as previously believed. We don't know when we are intuiting, and intuitions can be a source of error. Sometimes they are wrong and we can be deceived by them, but often they are not. Like a client making another deal of the CEO for joint business, but after their conversation, the CEO saw a flash of Titanic sinking. That means to her that this deal can damage her business. It's a gut feeling, so she didn't take the deal. It is a social psychologist's study of illusory thinking for what is revealed about normal information processing, and they give us the map of everyday social thinking with the hazards clearly marked. Another thing that we have a problem when judging our social world is overconfidence. I mean, confidence is a good thing which give us higher motivations, energy, and optimism, and can allow us to accomplish things that we otherwise might not have even undertaken. It contributes to happiness, right? But overconfidence is like when we make judgment and believe we are more likely to believe that we have done so correctly, but usually we are unaware of our errors. When we are more confident than correct, we overestimating the accuracy of oneself. Um, these are some examples of being an overconfidence. In the political overconfidence, example, Duterte said to have locked down in Cebu to minimize the COVID cases, but the overconfidence of the city mayors about the COVID-19 resulted the increase of COVID-19 cases. For the students, um, in, in exam, you think you know all the answers and you don't need to study, but because of your overconfidence, you messed up in the test and you ended up worst in the test. And stockbroker, you feel like you can beat the stock market average, but ended up nothing happened. Overconfidence, but not ability, help people become leader. Pervasive overconfidence seems less surprising, but perhaps more distressing. How to overcome overconfidence. Think of the consequences, reflect your mistakes, and you need to pay attention to feedbacks. Um, Confirmation bias is eager to verify our beliefs, is inclined to disprove them. It is appear to be a snap judgment where our default reaction is to look for information consistent with our prepositions. Stopping and thinking a little, calling up, makes us less likely to commit this error. Confirmation bias helps explain why our social images are so remarkably stable. We seek, elicit, and recall feedbacks that confirms their beliefs about themselves. People seek as friends and spouses those who bolster their own self-views, even if they think poorly of themselves. And that's all. I hope you. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something.